podcast is brought to you by Daba, your most comprehensive platform for investing in African stocks, bonds, and managed funds. You can download the Daba app on your favorite Google and Apple app stores. The BRVM continued its upward momentum last week, confirming that optimism remains strong among investors. By the close of Friday, September 26th, the BRVM Composite Index had gained slightly, rising by 0.04% to reach 324.71 points. At first glance, this may seem minor, but it carries weight. Why? Because this index tracks all listed companies. Its increase, however small, indicates that the market as a whole continues on a positive path. In contrast, two more focused indexes fell. The BRVM 30, which includes the 30 largest companies, dropped by 0.66% to 161.64 points. Meanwhile, the BRVM Prestige, which follows the largest and most solid companies, declined by 0.34% to 137.03 points. What does this contrast tell us? It suggests that investors have pulled slightly away from the most established and safest names to explore opportunities in smaller or less followed companies. This is a valuable signal for investors. When the broad composite rises but the BRVM 30 and Prestige fall, it shows renewed appetite for risk and greater diversification. Market liquidity remained robust. Over the week, 2,530,924 shares were exchanged, down from 3,082 at 602 the previous week. So, the number of shares traded decreased. But in terms of value, trading activity increased significantly. The total value of trades reached 4,193.5 billion francs CFA, up from 4,276.3 billion francs CFA the week before. That's a jump of 14.43%. In other words, fewer shares were exchanged, but the amounts involved were larger. This indicates that investors are focusing on strong, high-value trades. For you, this means confidence is still present and large-scale investors remain active. Now let's talk about the winners of the week. And there were some remarkable ones. First, Aura Group Togo soared by 28.81%, finishing at 2,325 francs CFA. This spectacular increase was fueled by the announcement of net consolidated profits up by 232%, reaching 18.282 billion francs CFA. Why did this happen? Quite simply, the group managed risks more effectively, cutting losses and reassuring investors. The result was renewed confidence in the company and strong demand for the stock. Next, CFAO Côte d'Ivoire gained 19.37%, closing at 140 francs CFA. This shows that distribution and automotive-related businesses are regaining investor attention, likely supported by expectations for household consumption growth. Finally, Unox Côte d'Ivoire rose 15.86%, closing at 1,315 francs CFA. This marked its second consecutive week of gains, proof that investors believe in the potential of this textile company. These advances are important. Why? Because they show that investors are not only seeking opportunities in banks, but are also turning to sectors like industry, consumer goods, and textiles. Of course, there were also losers. The steepest drop came from Filtasac Côte d'Ivoire, which fell 52.50% to 2,185 francs CFA. But this figure is misleading. In reality, this drop was due to dividend detachment, meaning the stock adjusted after the payment of a dividend of about 2,000 francs CFA. Excluding that, the actual decline was 9.01%. Tract d'Afrique Motors, Côte d'Ivoire dropped 10.89% to 2,495 francs CFA, and Bernabe Côte d'Ivoire declined 6.91% to 1,550 francs CFA. These corrections mainly reflect profit-taking after a strong year. For investors, it's a reminder, not every price drop signals trouble. Sometimes it's simply the timing of dividend payments or technical trading. Let's turn now to the bond market. Here again, there's good news. The total capitalization of the bond market increased by 0.60%, climbing from 10,914.2 billion francs CFA to 10,979.5 billion francs CFA. Trading activity was strong, with 364,078 bonds exchanged for a total value of 3,232,932 francs CFA. The standout was the 10-year State of Senegal bond with a coupon of 6.25%, which represented 37.28% of trading volume. That's 135,975 bonds traded, worth 1,359,580,671 francs CFA. With a weekly turnover of 1.18%, this bond proved to be the most liquid instrument of the week. For investors, this is a clear sign. Demand remains strong for sovereign bonds that combine attractive yields with solid liquidity. What should we watch next week? Analysis highlights some sectors with interesting potential. Opportunities are expected in consumer goods, industry, and financial services. However, the specific stocks are reserved for Daba Pro subscribers, who receive detailed recommendations each week. For you, as an investor, what does this mean? Even though the market as a whole looks strong, opportunities are scattered across specific sectors. Without access to in-depth analysis, it's easy to miss them. To sum up, the stock market at the BRVM remains broadly positive, even if large-cap stocks paused. Several companies delivered impressive gains, especially in banking, consumer goods, and textiles. On the bond side, demand for sovereign issues, especially from Senegal, remains strong. And for investors, the lesson is simple. Diversify your portfolio, pay attention to sector dynamics, and make use of liquid instruments to secure your investment. To receive weekly recommendations, gain access to exclusive analysis, and reduce your investment costs, subscribe to Daba Pro. With Daba Pro, you don't just follow the markets, you stay ahead of them. That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening to the Daba Markets Talk podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with another update. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating, follow us, and share with friends. Remember, this information is for educational purposes. Always do your own research or consult with a financial advisor before making investment decisions. And download the Daba app on your app store to start investing in African stocks, bonds, and manage portfolios through your phone and find other helpful content. Until next time, keep learning and keep growing your financial knowledge.